Okay, so buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien, muy bien. Good. Okay, so we will continue our biodiversity. But before we start, do you have any question? No? And just for your information, this is just a reminder that your final exam will be on Wednesday, okay, the 18th, right? It's going to be 200 points. Half of the questions will be just regular exam with the multiple choice, true and false, matching, and short answer. Okay, that's about 100 points. The other half will be essay question. But most of the essay question just like your assignment, like a description of the structure, the biodiversity, adaptations, kind of thing. So if you, of course, all of you have already done some of the assignments. So if you do your assignments, I believe it's not that difficult to answer the half of the final exam, which is an essay question. So the question mostly about biodiversity and also about conservation in this area, which is our class, right? Which is our topic in this class. And then on Thursday, okay, you will have your assignment. The last assignment will be due actually on Thursday, so you have time to finish your assignment after your final exam, and then just submit it to me on Thursday, the last assignment. Okay, and on Thursday also, I believe the whole group will meet. Okay, not only our class, but the whole class. All students will meet at the same time. On that time, there will be presentation. Okay, this is the time when you have your presentation time, which is 100 points, right? So for your class, okay, this is biodiversity and conservation. You can choose any topics that you want to use for your presentation. You don't have to prepare the PowerPoint. If you want to, that's fine. But we don't have the, the screen for the PowerPoint. But if you want to prepare with PowerPoints and you bring your tab, for example, you can also use that, just like me, using the PowerPoint to help you with your presentation. Again, the topic is up to you because this is biodiversity. You can talk about biodiversity, and you can limit it. For example, just want to talk about the plant, or you want to talk about the animal, or in the animal you just want to talk about the biodiversity of mammal, for example, or you can choose just monkey, for example, or you can choose just butterfly. That's for biodiversity. And then you can also choose the topic on conservation, whether in situ, which is in nature conservation, like national park, the private natural reserve in Monteverde, or the ex situ, which is outside their natural habitat, like for example, I think butterfly farm is kind of like that. And also when you remember in the hotel, in the lodge in the arena volcano, it has a little bit area, right? When you go to the swimming pool and you go to the restaurant, you pass a little bit area that they call it as a natural reserve, but it's actually is a kind of ex situ. They put or they make that in order some animal can stay there. Okay, just like that. So you can choose whether in situ conservation or ex situ conservation type. Okay, you can choose whichever topic you want to do for your or use for your presentation. Every student will have about 5 to 10 minutes presentation, which is kind of short, okay, but make sure you prepare more than that, okay? So it's better to prepare more topic or more talk than less, time talk, because you have a free time between 5 to 10 minutes to talk about what you learned from this class, conservation or biodiversity. Okay, and then I want you also to send me the topic that you want to talk. Like for example, maybe Toby, I'm gonna talk about biodiversity of mammals, for example, in Monteverde. Then the other person cannot do the same topic. So I just want to make sure that you have different topic to present. Okay, is that clear for this? Okay. Again, I believe it's not that difficult. I see all of you able to talk. I believe you should be able to talk in front of other students. The other student will do the same for their class. If you take 2 classes, then you will talk about this topic one. What is the other class you take? Women health?
The healthcare system.
The healthcare system. I believe, Dr. Falk will also assign you to talk about the health system. Okay, so every student that take 2 classes will talk twice based on their topic. Okay. Hey, now we'll continue our class. Last time, where we stopped? Anybody still remember? Just yesterday. Plant and which phylum? Hepaticophyta, or phyta. So we finish with that liver words, right? Now we go to the second phylum for the bryophytes, for the non-vascular plant. Is called horn, horn, anthero. Okay, Antoceratophyta. Okay, ceroto means horn, so this is also known as a hornworts. Okay. So, because this is non-vascular plants, again, there will be very short. Okay, most part of their body actually in or on the ground. They're going to be very green, but I don't see here. I don't really observe this Antoceratophyta during our observations, whether in the Monteverde, in the Arenal volcano, or the Quetzal, trail. We don't see that. Right? So it's going to be the same. They have structure that can also absorb water. Anybody still remember what is the structure that look like root, but it's not true roots? Rhizoid. Okay. And their body mostly green, but we cannot really call this as a leaf yet. They don't really have leaf yet, but it's just part of their body, that have chloroplasts able to perform the photosynthesis. They do also have the archegonium and antheridium. Anybody still remember what is archegonium? Female or male? If it is archegonium, female. This is the place for the eggs. And then antheridium, this is the male part. It has the sperm. And again, let's say this is the antheridium, this is the archegonium. Okay, the sperm will be produced and then swim into the archegonium and fertilize the eggs over here. Okay, now the whole body over here, again, remember, it is gametophyte or sporophyte? It is haploid or diploid? Yes. Again, remember, For the bryophyte, for non-vascular plants, their dominant generation is haploid, which is gametophyte. So the body over here is called the gametophyte, which is haploid, okay, or N, single chromosomes, okay. Okay. Now, when the sperm meet the eggs on the archegonium, then become diploid. That the time when they make a sporophyte. Now, the sporophyte will be look like a horn. That's their sporophyte. What is inside the sporophyte? You still remember what is inside the sporophyte? Zygote, and then we'll perform the meiosis to produce many, not seed. What do you call before seed?
Oh.
Okay, so zygote is two end, haploid, diploid, right? So this one is sporophyte, is diploid over here. The horn is actually diploid, right? But inside the horn, the zygote perform meiosis and produce a lot of spore. And the spore is haploid because what? Because meiosis. So meiosis always produce haploid cell. Okay, from diploid to haploid. This is meiosis. Okay, and the sperm, the spore, of course, then will be released into their habitat, the soil, and then growing into new gametophyte. You follow this? Okay, again, we didn't really see this hornwort in this area. Okay, now it's very similar with the previous one, right? With the liverwort. Number 3. Oh, I think I have the picture. This is actually how it looks like on nature. You see a lot of horn structure. The horn is sporophyte, which is diploid, but the rest at the bottom is look like watery. Okay, that the gametophyte. Okay, so that's the hornwort. What is number 3? This is the real moss. Okay, that's the name, which is what? Phylum Bryophyta. And we see this also in this area. Okay, maybe it's not that many, but I saw it several. Some of them in this place. I think it's look like this. Look like a grass. Okay, but when it has the sporophyte, it has kind of structure that carry a capsule. Okay, like this. It's not that many, okay, but I saw this. This is the capsule that, closer, which is actually carry the spores. Okay, now, this one a little bit advanced. Okay, so it has a little bit higher, maybe, kind of structure, not really on the ground flat, but it's higher a little bit. Then, of course, it has rhizoid on it. Okay, and then of course, this one is gonna be haploid, the body. What you call again? It is haploid body. It's called gametophyte. Okay, which is N, haploid. You follow this? Now, the neat thing about this plant, the male and female gametophyte are actually separate. Okay, so let's say this is the male gametophyte. It will be carry the structure, is called, anybody still remember again? What is the structure that produces the sperm carried by the gametophyte?
Sporophyte.
No, not yet. It's not making sporophyte yet.
Antheridium.
Antheridium. Okay, remember that? It's called antheridium. And inside there will be sperm. Okay, there will be sperm. Now, the next, maybe just within the same area, the same place, there will be a second gametophyte. Let's say this is rhizoid, okay, and this is male. Oh, sorry, we have already female gametophyte. Remember, gametophyte always haploid, always N, because this is gamete, okay? Carry the gamete or produce the gamete, which is N. And of course, over here, there will be structure that carry the eggs. What is the name again?
Archegonium.
Archegonium. Over and over, right? So I hope in the exam you will not forget. Female arche, male anther. Anther. Archegonium. It have eggs in it. Okay. Now, the sperm will be released. Boom. Go to the ground. Of course, the sperm will swim. Need water. That's the reason why they always need water. Without water, they will not be able to reproduce. They swim to the female gametophyte and reach the eggs over here. Okay. Now, when it's reaching the eggs, then it's become what? Zygote. And then it's create a structure that will look like this. Okay. Sometimes in some book it's called capsule. Okay. In some book it's called sporangium. It has several names, but the same structure. In other book it's called theca or theca. Okay, which is the same. The meaning is capsule. Okay, capsule that has, the zygote will perform meiosis and it will have spores on it. Okay, spores on it. Now, look at this theca or the capsule structure, right? In the front is different color, right? That's actually the cap. You have the bottle, it has cap on it. So it can open. It will be opened when the spore is ready to be dispersed. This cap will be open. Okay, can you see this one? Like that. That cap is called the operculum. That's the name of the cap. Can you see that on the right top side? So the cap is open. It's called the operculum, and then the spore will be differs, will be exit from that theca. So this cap over here is called the operculum. Again, it will be open when the time is ready. And of course, the spore will be haploid or diploid. It's a zygote that performs meiosis.
Haploid.
Haploid. The spore always haploid in this group, because what? The spore then will growing into haploid generation, which is gametophyte. And why it is haploid? Because from zygote, from that diploid, it's perform meiosis. And meiosis always produce haploid. Okay, just remember, for the bryophyte, for non-vascular plants, the spore are always haploid or diploid? Haploid. Okay, always haploid, because when it is growing, it's making this haploid or gametophyte generation. As you see over here, the only time they are diploid is during this time over here, which is this is the sporophyte, which is the one that carry the spore, the zygote and the spore. The spore itself haploid, but the structure that carry it diploid. Okay, can you? It means that the diploid, okay, the sporophyte actually small and it is right on the haploid generation. Can you see that one? Because that's the way actually the evolution. Okay, for the primitive plants, the dominant generation is gonna be gametophyte or gametophyte or sporophyte. Emang for non-vascular plant, primitive plant, gametophyte. So the one that you see on land, okay, the plant that you see on land, that's actually mostly gametophyte. Where is the sporophyte? On it, very small. In this case, in the form of theca. In the Anteroceratophyta, in the form of horn. What? In the liverwort, in the form of the archegonium that make a little bit, structure. Okay, but this one has the name. It's theca. It's called the theca or sporangium, or capsule. That's the sporophyte. Now, for the higher plant like that, like a flowering plant, okay, what is dominant generation actually that you see? So you see that plant, big plant over there? What is mostly gonna be? Sporophyte or gametophyte? Sporophyte. That's the way the evolution. On the primitive one, gametophyte is dominant. But on the modern plant, higher plants, the sporophyte are dominant. Where is the gametophyte?
On the ground.
No. That the one that's really colorful. It carry by that colorful structure. What do you call that? Flower. Flower carry the pollen. Pollen is male, right? And also carry the eggs in the ovule, in the pistil. That's the name of the structure. You see that one? In the higher plant, the sporophyte is dominant, and the gametophyte is actually carry by this sporophyte. How about human animal? What is our dominance generation? Sporophyte or gametophyte? Diploid or haploid?
Sporophyte.
Sporophyte. We actually in human we don't really call sporophyte. This is only for a plant. For human we are diploid. Okay, which is called anybody know what is the cell that diploid? It's called somatic cell. So we are somatic cell. And do we carry the gamete cell? Yes. If it is male, is sperm, the gametophyte, really small, right? If it is female, the gametophyte is the eggs. Okay, we don't call it gametophyte, we call it gametes. Okay, male and female gametes. Okay, because it is for plant, because it is plant, they use five gametophyte, sporophyte. Okay, I hope you get this one. Okay, you do understand. Again, what is dominant generation for non-vascular plant for the primitive plants? Gametophyte, which is haploid, and the sporophyte is going to be very small, and usually will be right on the gametophyte. Okay, you clear this one because the next one is actually between the primitive and the modern plant. That's the next group gonna be. Okay. Okay. That's how the biodiversity is. If we follow the evolution. Okay, so start from water, go to the primitive plant that still love water. Go to the next one. The next group. What is the next group? Phylum number 4 and 5. Okay. What's it gonna be?
Seedless vascular plants?
Yeah, seedless vascular plants. No, the plant already have vessel, therefore it's called the vascular plants, right? 1, 2, 3, the phylum number 1, 2, 3, they are non-vascular, no vessel. Now we go to vascular plants, a little bit, modern. It has vessel, it has gonna be stem, and also now they have also leaf structure, and they also have that kind of root structure now because they already have the vessel. What is the two vessel that they have? Still remember the name of vessels in plant?
Phloem and xylem.
Phloem and xylem. What's the function of xylem?
And doesn't it carry sugar?
Carry water.
Carry water.
Xylem carry water from the ground to the leaf, and then the phloem carry the sugar from the leaf to other part of the plant. Okay? So that's the vessel or vascular in the plant. So seedless. Okay? There are two phyla in this group. What is the first one? I put number 4 because we'll continue. What is phylum number 4? Lycophyta. Okay, Lycophyta, which is club mosses. Okay, there are several of them, but I just want to show you that you should be able to see them a lot in this cloud mountain area. This one over here. If you really walk and observe on the ground, you should be able to see this one. This one is called the Selaginella. Selaginella, which is a group of Lycophyta. Look at this. They already have stem on it, right? Stem, the black line. Okay, that's the stem. And also the green one is going to be the leaf. Because their leaf is small, okay, most of the time their leaf is called as a microphyll. Micro means small. So basically it's going to be look like this. So they already have. Okay, and then it's going to be a lot of leaf. Okay. But they're still close to the ground because they still need water. They need a lot of moist. Okay, I hope it's kind of similar. But for a better picture, I want to see this one. So it has stem, black stem, green leaf, okay, and again they might have root. Even the root is not that strong as the modern plant root, and the root is just like a monocot root, the same size. Okay, so this is the stem and the leaf, and the leaf is called microphyll. Okay, micro means small, phyll means leaf. So microphyll. Okay. Okay, so again, you should be able to see this on the. This is another one, which is the club mosses, is even taller, but I don't really see around here a lot, but mostly here, a lot on the ground. Okay. Now, we go to the next one. On the next one, we will also talk about their reproduction. You see the difference between the previous group and this group, okay? And the next group, of course. Okay. Bless you. Now, what is the next one? Number 5. This is the one that you see a lot also in the forest. Many, yeah, they're right. Phylum Pteridophyta. Phyta, which is fern. Okay, that's their usual name, the fern. And again, you saw this. You will not miss this one because there are a lot, especially in the cloud forest. Many of them actually live on other plant, on other tree. Oh, even we can see that from here, some of them. So what do you call that? The plant that live on another plant?
Epiphyte.
Epiphyte. So many of them are epiphyte, but many of them also live on the ground, especially the prehistoric fern, the one that is tall like a palm tree. Okay, but they have different type of leaf. Okay, so Pteridophyta. Gonna go to this. Okay, we don't see this one. We don't see this one, but this one is a lot. Right? The fern over here. Now, the leaf, they have what we call the compound leaf. So let's say like this. This is one line. Okay, and then the line, it has many leaves like that. Okay, this is what we call the compound leaf. Compound leaf. Okay, and especially for the fern is called frond. Okay, frond. It has a special name. Okay, that group of leaf is called the frond. Now, under the leaf, okay, many of them, if you put it upside down, under it, you're gonna be a lot of bumpy structure. Okay, each of this bumpy structure is called sorus. If it is many, it become sorai. Just like cactus one, cacti more than one. Okay, that's the way, scientific term. Like bacillus only one, then many gonna be bacilli. Coccus one, cocci, many bacteria. Okay, so it has sorus. Okay, so sorus. That sorus is actually like a capsule that carry spores. Okay, so there will be a lot of spores inside that sorus. So they still reproduce by spores. Therefore, it's called what? Seedless. They don't have seed. Even though they're already vascular, but they still don't have seed. They do not produce the seed. Now, look at this one. When the frond start to grow, they usually look like this, like a tail, monkey tail, right? Especially the spider monkey, the howler monkey, and what's the other one that have tail that prehensile? White-faced capuchin. So all three monkeys live here. The one that have able to, grab something. It look like this. Okay, this one is called the fiddlehead. Fiddlehead. The structure like this one is called fiddlehead. Then it will be growing into frond, into the compound leaf of the fern. Now, just for your information, in our country, this one is really soft actually. Okay, really soft. And many people took it and cook it. This is really delicious if you're able to cook it. Yeah? Just like a vegetable. Yeah, part of the vegetable, you can cook it. This also part that can be cooked. Do not use this one because this is really hard. But this one is really soft. You can make soup. You can make some other type of food. So in our country, many people use this for cook, especially if, for example, you are someone that go to the forest. If you lost in the forest, for example, this is part of what we call the survival tips. This part you can eat. you can eat this part. You can cook it, you can, boil it in the water, put some salt, and then, good. Okay? You get this one? What is the name? Fiddleheads of the front. Fiddleheads of the front. You follow this? Now we go back to this leaf over here. There are some leaves that do not have sorus. So if they don't have sorus, we just call them as the same microphyll, because they are actually part of the bigger leaf. So therefore we call the microphyll, small leaf. But the one that carry sorus, they have special name. It's called sporophyll. Okay, sporophyll. This means that this leaf carry spores. And I believe, who take that picture and then send it to our group? Cameron, yeah? So Cameron asking, what is the bumpy things under this leaf? And then I answered that that's a sorai, which is, it's actually sporophyll, carry the bumpy sorai, and inside the sorus, there is a lot of spores. Are you with me? Hey, now you ready with the reproduction? Hey, this one is between the bryophyte, the non-vascular plant, and the seed vascular plants. The way they reproduce and also their generation. Now, do you still remember? In non-vascular plants, the primitive plant, what is the primary generation again? Gametophyte or sporophyte?
And what's up with that?
On the primitive one, the non-vascular plants. Gametophyte. N or double N? N. Haploid or diploid? Haploid. Okay, I just want to make sure you follow this. Okay, so on the primitive one, the dominant generation is gametophyte, which is haploid, and N, single. Now, this one, okay, the gametophyte and sporophyte separate. But starting from this one, the dominant generations will be sporophyte. Are you with me? So the one that you see, the fern that you see mostly, the big one, is gonna be sporophyte. What does that mean? Diploid. 2N. Where is the gametophyte? Gametophyte is actually really small, separate from the sporophyte. Mostly we don't see them a lot because sometimes they are underground. Okay, they are underground. Okay, sometimes they are mixed with what we call the mycorrhiza or rhiza. Okay, what is mycorrhiza? What is myco? What is mycota? What is myco? Fungi. Rhiza mean root. So there are fungi that actually make association, symbiotic association with the roots of plant. And this association is called the mycorrhiza, which is fungi and plant root. Okay? So many of these gametophyte of this fern is actually live here within the mycorrhiza. So it's actually underground. We don't really see them. And they are small. The one that we see again mostly what? Sporophyte. That's their dominant generation. You see that one? That's a kind of the links between the gametophyte generations in the primitive plant, sporophyte generations in the modern plant, and then between this they are separate. Sporophyte, gametophyte separate. Are you with me? Okay? That's how the nature works. Right? That's how the nature is very fascinating. Especially if you also learn about evolution of this kind of organism. You can see the connection. Oh yeah, this one first, this one second, this one is the last evolve. Okay, so when you take evolution, you know why it is the last one. Just based on the structure, just based on their reproduction, etc. You know, oh, this is gonna be the last one that is evolved. Okay, now we're gonna go to the reproduction over here. Look at this one. So it's separating. The top one, which is the dominant one over here that you see on the habitat, on the nature, it's gonna be the sporophyte. Oh, I forget how to do the oh, it's like this. So you're gonna be stand up a little bit. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. The generation, this is sporophyte, which is the one that you see with the leaf, with the sori and everything. And this is the gametophyte, which is very small, actually under the ground. You get this one? Now, so how it's work? Let's say we start from the dominant generations, which is the sporophyte. Okay, sporophyte over here. Again, it carry the sori with spore in it. Okay, now my question is, this leaf over here and the stem over here is gonna be diploid or haploid?
For the sporophyte?
Yeah, for this, the leaf over here. The leaf, the stem. Okay, this one diploid because this is the sporophyte, right? Because this is the sporophyte. It's gonna be diploid. Now look at the spore. The spore inside the sori, it will perform the same like the mosses, the bryophyte, meiosis. You get this one? So when it is released from the sori, let's say this is going to be gametophyte generation. What is the spore going to be? Diploid or haploid? Meiosis, remember. This is going to be haploid. So the haploid spores will be released from the sori. Get it? Okay. Now what happened with this one is growing under the ground to create a structure which is called, if this is sporophyte, this structure is going to be called what? Gametophyte, which is haploid or diploid? Haploid. Again, I'm asking you this over and over to make sure you get it. If you get it, you will not forget it. Okay? So this generation can be gametophyte, haploid. Huh? And this one then will have the same like the bryophyte. It will have structure that carry sperm. What do you call it? The one that carries sperm?
The end.
Antheridium. Good job. So it has antheridium. And then it will have the structure that carry eggs is called archegonium. Archegonium. The same, the same like the bryophyte, but it is under the ground. Again, the sperm will be released from the antheridium, go to the archegonium, okay, and then making zygote. Get it? And this zygote then do mitosis. Okay, mitosis. So zygote is diploid or haploid? Diploid, 2N, 2N zygote, growing into this, into the plant, into the sporophyte generations. Okay, so from this zygote perform mitosis over here. Okay, this is meiosis over here. Okay, and because this is mitosis and zygote is diploid, it's gonna be growing into plant that is also diploid, and it is what we call the sporophyte of that plant. Okay, simple, right? Even maybe simple, more simple than the bryophyte. Okay, you have question for this? Pterodophyta.
Well, you said that the gametophyte is
Gametophyte.
gametophyte is it starts with the mycorrhiza.
Yes, it's actually over here. Underground, there will be a root of the plant. Okay, and that root of plant have fungi on it, and mostly this gametophyte over here live around that mycorrhiza. So they kind of also make these three combination together.
I
Yeah.
was asking if that works the same with the tree fern, since the trunk is also a root,
The
or is it still under?
No, they're still under the ground. So the gametophyte under the ground, the one that you see going up above the ground is gonna be already the sporophyte, already growing from that underground, actually zygote after the fertilization. Okay, so basically the gametophyte, we don't really see them, okay, above the ground. Mostly they are under the ground, live with the mycorrhiza, and then they create in the zygote, sperm and eggs, fertilize zygote, and that zygote is going out. Okay, so most of the time they will be close to the around that plant, around the big plant. Because what? Because their starting point is actually coming from the root of the plant, which is the mycorrhiza. Okay, so many of them will be close to the larger trees. They also need that canopy. They need, the humidity. They need the cloud, water, humid, moist environment also, because that sperm still need the water in order to reach the female side, the archegonium. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Okay, do you have questions so far? Okay, we still have about 10 minutes. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is again the process. You can also look on your PowerPoint if you have it. Now, the next ones, what is the next one's going to be? After the seedless vascular plants, seed, seed vascular plants. Okay? And again, this seed vascular plant divided into two groups. Okay? Okay, the first group is called, Toby mentioned it last time. We're going to use that terminology. What is the first group? Gymnosperm. Gymnosperm. Okay? Non-flowering plants. Okay, what is the second group? Angiosperm. Flowering plants. Okay. You with me? Now, the gymnosperm, how many phyla? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay, I'm already saying 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll start with number what?
Wait.
6, because we finished number 5. What? Number 6. 6. What is number 6? This and that's a lot, especially in Canada, United States.
Oh, the coniferous.
Coniferophyta. Coniferophyta. Or pines. Or conifer. And they make the biomes. Anybody know what's the name of the biomes?
Deciduous slash
No, deciduous is not conifers.
boreal.
Boreal, yeah, which is coniferous forest or boreal forest. Right? That consists of evergreen coniferous plant. They've never lost their greenness. I mean, they never lost their leaf. Unlike the deciduous. So deciduous one is the one that fall during fall. So Coniferophyta, which is mostly vines, what else? Spruce, redwood. They plant actually many of them as big tree. This group. Now, I think this seed plants, they start to have the ability to adapt on the dry condition because they produce the seed, and the seed is actually on the plant, and then the seed is actually fertilized by the sperm, and the sperm from this group of plant do not require water anymore. You see that one? Therefore, they can live in habitats that have less water or dry soil or away from the water habitats. Can you follow this? Now, how they fertilize, how they're kind of pollinates the sperm pollinate the eggs or fertilize the egg. How? What kind of thing that they use now if they don't use water anymore? Anybody can give a guess how this sperm reach the eggs if they don't use water anymore?
Spores?
No, they don't have spore. Remember, it's become seed right there. But how the sperm reach the eggs? Wind, one of them. Therefore, many of them need wind pollinator. What else? Insects, butterfly, insects, right? That the way now they reproduce. The sperm do not require water anymore. Therefore, they will be able to spread away from water habitats. Now they become the dominant plants on planet because they do not really require that water for pollination or fertilization. That's their adaptation. Other adaptations, now because they live on land, they have to be able to carry the water on the soil to the top. Therefore, they have vessel, and their vessel actually now is bigger. Therefore, they're gonna have bigger stem in order to make that bigger vessel, right? Which is phloem and xylem. So they're gonna be having that because of their xylem and phloem. Their stems gonna be big and strong. That's their adaptation on land. They also have to compete now with other land plant to reach what? To reach the sun for photosynthesis. What happened? Their stem is become tall. So most of them, they will be tall trees. And their canopy mostly on the top. So mostly you will see this group of plant will have this kind of umbrella canopy. They don't really have many branches over here, because they have to put all their effort on the leaf close to the sun, to compete with other plants. Okay, so that's their adaptations. Their leaf also, now if you see the leaf, let's say the leaf like this, okay, the top one, the top leaf, the top layer of the leaf, if we cut this and then put it, let's say, under the microscope, okay, the top one over here is consists of cell that have what we call wax, which is a lipid. That cell is called the having the chemical, we call the wax, and this cell is called the cuticle. So waxy cuticle. Okay, so this is the top and this is the bottom. Okay, so if you observe the leaf, most of the time the top will be shiny. Why? Because they have waxy cuticle. Now, what is the adaptation? What's the function of this cuticle for the leaf? Why they have to have that layer of wax, of lipid on the top?
Is it like protection against insects?
No. Toby, what do you think? You know, they need to conserve water, right? Water is needed in this leaf to make glucoses.
Water.
Yeah, so it's protect them from dehydrations on the leaf, evaporation too much. Got it? No. Okay.
I was just gonna ask, does that mean like the waxy cuticle is like hydro? I think it's hydro.
Hydrophobic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they scare of water. It's make water actually will not when the sunlight going here, it will not protect from evaporation. It's gonna be less evaporation because it's just protecting with this layer of wax or lipid. Now the question is, remember, they need carbon dioxide to enter into the leaf. On the top one over here is very, very tight, that cell, the cuticle, really tight. It will not allow even gas to enter into the leaf. The leaf needs carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Now, how they do that? What is the adaptation that they will have? That's the very in nature they work just it's very efficiently. They have to protect something, but in other they have to do something that should allow also gas enter it. Now, if you see under the leaf, the bottom of the leaf, it will not have that cuticle. Right? Only the one that facing the sunlight have that protection, but the bottom don't have it. You see that one? Just like umbrella, I have umbrella, but the bottom don't really have that protection. The bottom actually they have hole, so there is a cell that create the hole. Okay, and that hole under the leaf is called stoma. It is one. If it is many, it's called stomata. Now, maybe you have heard about this. If you learned about the plant has stomata. What is stomata? The hole under the leaf that will let the carbon dioxide enter into the leaf. So carbon dioxide enter here. Okay? And then carbon dioxide with water will create the glucose, right? Now, where's the water coming from? Now, my question is, where the water coming from? Where the water coming from to the leaf? No. Water is the other one. Xylem. So it's coming from, let's say this is the stem, this is the root. So it's coming here, xylem going to this. This is what we call the vein over here. It's the vein. If it is dicot, for example, it's making web like this. That's actually vein. That vein carry the xylem and phloem. Xylem carry what? Carry the water. So water enter into this leaf through this vein. And the vein again have the phloem and the xylem. So xylem, the one that carry water. And finally making what? Making the... I can make it bigger, sorry. Okay, we're still in the adaptation of the modern plant. Okay, let's say this, the leaf over here. it has vein, right? Carry the water. Okay, and then the carbon dioxide enter through the stomata. Carbon dioxide, right? And then with the sunlight, okay, sunlight can pass through the cuticle. Light can pass it, but the cuticle will not allow the water out from the leaf. But the sun can penetrate that wax, just like glass can penetrate the glass. And then with this energy from the light, making what? Glucose, which is, what is the formula?
C6,
C6,
H12,
H12, O6. What? Plus?
plus up to 38 ATP.
No. They will not produce ATP. They will produce this. This is the one that will become ATP later in mitochondria. But there is a gas that also produced as a byproduct of the photosynthesis.
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Over here. So 6 water, 6 carbon dioxide will create 1 sugar and then release 6 oxygen. Okay. Now this is gas. Remember, oxygen gas, it will be released from the leaf. Well, it's used the same. Stomata, right? Stomata. There is another stomata over here. Then it's out. Carbon dioxide out from the leaf. And who take it? We. We feel good under the tree. Because what? Tree produce oxygen. Especially during the day. During the night, they don't. During the night, they compete with us. Because they also perform the cellular respiration at night. They also take oxygen to make ATP. Right? Okay. Okay, this is the kind of adaptation for plant. Okay, modern plant, why they're able to reach up, and then they had to make something on the structure that able them to conserve water, at the same time able for them to take gas from the air, from the atmosphere. This is one of them. Okay, we'll continue this adaptation later. This is again how you learn about biodiversity, why there are so many biodiversity differences, because they adapt to their condition. Okay, do you have question? Yeah, it's 2 minutes over. I'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow we have morning class, I think 8 o'clock. Right? Because we're going to city tomorrow. See you tomorrow then.